In the first part of this series, I asked you lovely people at home whether I could take my dream 22-year-old motorcycle from Bolton to Bologna. Today, in this episode, we're jumping right in to see what it takes to turn this into this. Now, Bikesure will be giving this bike away to one lucky person. If you want to be in with a chance of winning it, definitely check out the link in the description. You'll even get my first ride opinions on the bike before I set off on this amazing trip. Well, before we do any of that, let's roll the intro. It was time to make some space in the garage so we could focus on the Ducati 750S. To me, the most visually important aspect of this build is the single headlight conversion. So we removed the side fairing to expose the trellis frame. Oh, there's just something so nostalgic about a trellis frame for me. After the fairing removal, we removed the light before fully removing the nose fairing itself to expose all of that bracketry. The dash was then disconnected and the brackets removed in their entirety. At this point, I was starting to better visualise what I wanted this bike to look like. We used a digital caliper to measure the forks and ordered the headlight brackets and the headlight from Alchemy Parts 001 on eBay. The headlight was advertised as being appropriate for a BMW R65, R80, R100, but in reality, it's a pretty universal headlight. We mock fitted the brackets and light to get an idea of how it would look, whilst trying to plan what we would do with the dash and where we would hide the loom. My original plan, my ideal plan, would have been to chop the temperature gauge out of the dash like you see here and have it sit around the ignition barrel. But with so much going on the back of the dash, it would make creating a bracket quite difficult and wouldn't have looked neat at all in my opinion. We decided on a Cosso dash and had a play around with a broken one our friend lent us before committing to a new one. For the next bit we had two options: chop out unnecessary wiring from the loom to help conceal it better since there was no nose cone to house it in, and keep the airbox standard. Or the second option was to do the cone air filter modification, so the butchering of Ducati's central nervous system was not required. We went with that option, which I'm sure the winner of this bike will appreciate. For me, it was time for the most exciting part of this build, the exhausts. I'm an absolute sucker for an evil sounding motorcycle. She is. What's the steering lock like, Mike? Non-existent. So this is the last time we'll see it with its original exhausts. We are at Quill, an MTC. It does look so cool. But it looks so uncomfortable. Super, thank you very much. See you later. Let's see her. There she is. Oh, they look so good. Look at those bad boys. Oh, they look so good. Oh, look at this. Oh, that sounds nice. sounds alright, didn't it, Mike?
It's gonna run, right?
Oh, they look real good.
I like them.
I'm mega happy with those. Mega happy. Oh, did you hear that, guys? This sounds so good. I like how that sounded initially. So I need to get the standard exhausts, which are just down there, pack them in the van and off we go. That is with the baffles in as well. It's gonna sound menacing, Mike. Menacing. So when we bought the bike, it was running absolutely fine, but it did develop a little bit of a running issue. The bike would run, but it would sound really, really boggy, and then ultimately it would cut out. Not ideal.
Again, it's done it. It's done it again.
In a bid to try and diagnose the fault, we took the bike to our friends at BHP in Blackburn to see if they could help us with some diagnostic tools, plug the bike in and try and get to the bottom of the running issue. So BHP plugged the bike in, but it was hard to get the software for that specific motorcycle, a 2002 Ducati 750S. We spent the day there trying to fault find by plugging things in and trying to figure out what was wrong with it, but ultimately the issue wasn't showing up. All was not lost though. The guys there made us an awesome coffee. They spent lots of time with us. They're a very, very accommodating company and they do awesome tunes on bikes. In fact, they actually let me experience an M1000 XR on the dyno, and that was a real cool experience because I'd never been in a dyno booth before with the headsets on and everything like that. This is so cool.
Oh,
I've never been in one of these before, Mike. So that was a really cool experience. Thanks BHP. Whilst at BHP, Mike and Carl banded a few ideas around as to what it could be, and we were going to take it back home and check the fuel tank just to see if that was contributing to the running issue. And lo and behold. Right, Michael, explain the issue that you've just found.
Fuel filter. So it's not running right, it's running very lean. We went to BHP and it's too old for the diagnostics and there's some other issues. So I figured I would take the fuel filter off and put a new fuel filter on it to test that. But I don't think you're supposed to be able to do this.
And
so I'm guessing it might have low fuel pressure due to these not fitting at all.
Yeah.
So we're going to order some new piping, a new fuel filter and try that.
Super. Bang! Ah! Michael! The bike was getting too much air and not enough fuel, and consequently it was running lean. But thankfully that was a pretty quick fix. Whew! As you can see by the videos from BHP in Blackburn, we'd fitted the new Cosso DB03 dash. That was looking pretty amazing with the whole setup, so I was really chuffed with how that looked. So we had a few little steps to do before the bike was complete in our eyes. We wanted to put some new rubber on it, so it got some Pirelli Angel GTs. And then we needed to tidy up that back end because it was too bulky and big. So Mike had ordered 3 tail tidies from Amazon just because our deadline was closing in to get this bike finished, and we figured if we ordered 3, hopefully one would fit. That was the case. We ended up sending 2 back, but one fit so well you would think it was designed for the Ducati 750S. Then the small indicators went on and the back end was looking tidy, and then we put some bar end indicators on the front, and it just finished the look of this bike off perfectly. Looks so mean and aggressive. So in this part of the video, we're gonna ride it, the trial run. Let's see how I got on. Woohoo! Guys, this is my first official ride on this absolute unpractical, wild creation that has come out of mine and Mike's garage. Good Lord. So, today I am putting some miles on it to see how I get on. And when I say this bike is uncomfortable, Lord knows I'm not lying. It's got a more aggressive riding position, in my opinion, than an R1. We don't have any mirrors because we haven't quite figured out where to house them. But I've ridden through Europe without mirrors before. It's not the ideal, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a smart thing to do. But I'm also very live and let live. You've got to just experience the world sometimes, even if the situation isn't perfect. Now, what that will just mean for me is that I'll be riding and behaving and sticking behind traffic a lot. Obviously, when I want to move out, I'll be doing lifesavers to make sure it's 100% clear. But I don't think I'm going to be absolutely caning this thing anyway. So it's not the end of the world. The clutch on this is so heavy. It does make a whirring noise when it comes to a stop, but it's not seeming to impact the performance of the bike in the slightest, which is good. It's noisy, it's menacing, it sounds crazy. So, we don't have a fuel gauge, we don't even have a fuel light. So the purpose of me taking this out, as well as to kind of familiarise myself with the ride, seeing as I'm going to be putting 2,000 miles on this across many different countries in Europe, starting to question my sanity and whether that's a good idea to do all that alone. I need to kind of do math. I need to do the math to figure out when I need to fuel up. It's got a 16 litre tank, and I'm not going to be just absolutely caning this bike everywhere because I am aware that it is an old bike. It's 2002, so I want to try and respect it. Especially, it's not just an old bike, 2002, it's an old Ducati. So I'm starting to question my sanity with this one. But yeah, it's pretty wild to think that I'm going to be riding this extremely feral riding position bike to Bologna, to take it back to the motherland, to the Ducati factory, and just see where my adventures take me, really, and see if I can actually do it, because already this clutch is so freaking heavy, it's unreal. It's a very wristy bike, so I'm just trying to engage core a little bit. It's got the turning circle of the Titanic. Oh, but it sounds so good with the max torque cans on. Now, you guys will have hopefully seen the picture of the bike that I kind of tried to emulate. The only thing I'm not quite there with was the seat cowl, the Cafe Racer style seat cowl, but that was purposely held off because I know that I'm going to do the trip. I need somewhere appropriate to strap luggage down, and the standard rear seat of this is perfect. I mean, I say standard rear seat, it's all one seat, but it was just perfect for the job, so I didn't really want to change it. I've strapped luggage down to it now in like a trial run, just to see what it's like. The old rubber on this, I think, was from 2002, So we put some brand new Pirelli Angel GTs on for the trip because they're apparently extremely good at munching miles. You get a lot of mileage out of a set of those tyres. Oh, the noise. The noise. I think that's with baffles in also. I think it's got baffles in. Let's clear that way. Oh, flipping heck. That road's never clear for me. So yeah, I've done approximately 4 miles since leaving the house and my wrists already feel like they need to retire. So 2,000 miles is going to be a little bit wild, but we'll get it done, hopefully. I mean, I'm not sure which might give up first, the bike being an old Ducati that I'm trying to force back to the motherland, or whether I'll give up first as a 33-year-old almost invalid who's got a bajillion aches and pains. Right, we'll see how this handles on these roads. It handles alright, but like I say, it does have the turning circle of a barge. So we'll just slow it down a little bit. Brand new tyres, but it is dry today, thankfully. Oh, it sounds menacing when you open it up. Okay. Oh, I'm looking forward to this trip. I'm really, really heavily looking forward to it. Have I bitten off more than I can chew on this bike with this riding position when I'm not? Literally, I spent half a day on a Yamaha R7 and it absolutely destroyed my body. This to me feels far more extreme than the Yamaha R7's riding position. I've got my little palm saver cruise control mechanism devicey thing to try and make my life easier. I don't have a gear indicator, so I'm just hoping for the best. Because we ripped all the fairing off the front, it just wasn't an option to keep the old dash, as much as I would have absolutely loved that. But if you're going to cause problems for yourself, then you've got to find solutions for yourself, right? So that's exactly what we've tried to do with this dash, and I think it looks pretty smart. I think it looks pretty smart. So we'll go and say hi to Sean at Bleachworks. Put 7 miles on it since I filled up. Clutch is wildly heavy on this thing. Oh, hydraulic as well. It should bloody start acting like it. Put some super unleaded in this because she's an old girl. Do you know what? As impractical as this bike is, I really like the ride. Like, because it's not comfy, but it's satisfying because it's so cool, and I feel like a badass when I ride it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm that girl. Hello Angel, how do? So for the trip I'm planning on registering my Real Rider app, getting that all sorted. It's basically a very, very clever app. Bikesure Insurance are working with the guys because they back it. Basically it's an app on your phone where if you're involved in a collision, the phone will alert emergency services, which is a bit of peace of mind if you are riding so far on your own. And also it can track your travels and your journey as well, so that's pretty cool. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Okie dokie, I've just left MC Hub. They did have a tank bag, but it's just a little bit too big. I've had a bike nearly go sideways on me coming up here before in the wet. It's only got 5 gears, this, you know. Oh my god, I've been riding it full choke. I forgot. That's a problem. I wonder why it was revving its tatties off. Oh, it smells like old Ducati, I love it. Okay. That'll do. How much? That's embarrassing. In the next episode, I'm bringing you guys the trip itself, taking the Ducati from Bolton to Bologna. So if you're interested to find out how I get on and keep tabs on my travels, then definitely watch the next episode, and I'll see you guys then.